Well, to my old friend Bob and to all of y'all, thank you so much. Look forward to tonight very much, even though Goldberg was involved. He's an interesting guy, Goldberg. I don't come to New York too often, but I come when he asked me. And my last trip here, he and I were walking back after the event, and I'm sorry to tell you, we're accosted, mugged, I think you'd call it here. Guy said, "Give us your money." I'm trained. I knew not to resist. And the process of turning it over, I feel Goldberg stick his hand in my pocket. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Here's that $50 I owe you." It'll be a little relief and fun to be with you just for a few minutes tonight, because you're different than so many audiences I've been seeing recently. I did write this book, and it's been an interesting experience. And the people who tend to come to events about books are a little different. They're a little literary. I gave a talk a week or two ago, and after it was over, this matronly lady came rushing up the stage, and she was just obviously very excited and liked what she'd heard. She said, Mr. Daniels, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed your speech. It was just superfluous." I said, "Well, thank you, madam. I didn't know it was all that good." She said, "Yeah, well, will your remarks be published?" I said, "Well, if so, probably be posthumously." She said, "I do hope that'll be soon." Tonight's one of those nights I've become accustomed to in this job after close to 7 years, when you're given awards you didn't really earn, awards you don't really deserve. Of course, I tore my rotator cuff. I didn't deserve that either. But I want to thank you. I'm glad to be here, deserving or not, just to share a few reflections about this organization, about the purposes for which it was formed and the great job it's doing. So important to us all. You know, that I spent what I consider the best years of my working life, 11 or 12 years in the healthcare business. I would still be there if events hadn't, if George Bush hadn't butted in, frankly. And I look back on those years with great fondness. I was with Eli Lilly and Company for more than a decade, and I loved everything about it. I loved the mission, the lives we were improving or saving. I mean, making money's great, but when you know that you are alleviating human misery and extending life in many cases, that's a nice thing to take to work every day. I love the amateur science I learned. Love to hang out with our technicians and try in my own way to grasp what they were doing. I love the rigor of it. I mean, so, as Paul said, so fact-based. You know, the suspense of waiting. Did the trial make statistical probability or didn't it? Man, everything. I used to love to, by the way, I used to love to bug our Lilly statisticians. They're a different group, you know, and I would always say things like, did you hear about the 2 Lilly statisticians who died walking across a river that was on average 3 feet deep? Or, I'd say 2 Lilly statisticians went duck hunting, and finally a duck flew over, a guy jumps up, boom, missed him 6 feet high. Next guy, boom, missed him 6 feet low. They high-five, we got him! I just want to think for a minute about the work of this center, even the name, Center for Medicine in the Public Interest, but there is no, I submit to you, there is no realm of inquiry or research or advocacy more centrally in the public interest now and for the rest of the foreseeable future than what this center is working in now. I think it can be argued easily that the public issue of our day, the core of the challenges facing this country, all are centered in finding better ways to deliver health care, more effective and more efficient health care to our fellow citizens. If there are two national imperatives in front of us right now, facing what I regret to say is a genuine arithmetic crisis, fiscally and financially facing our nation and the Western world. It is safety net reform and the strengthening of our private economy. And in both cases, health care, as it is evolved in this country, and as this organization would have it evolve in the future, are dead center. In the case of safety net reform, Bob made mention, if we don't restore more personal responsibility, a greater sense of decision-making, skin in the game, consumerism, we won't ever catch up. We won't ever limit the growth of expenditures, which is costing jobs, costing hope and upward mobility right now in this country. In our state, we have found ourselves in a unique position. By the end of the upcoming sign-in period, more than 90% of Indiana state employees will be in an individual health account, health savings account, loosely speaking, and have been for several years. We're an interesting little test bed. We're a beta site. I was telling Bob, we didn't know this until our actuaries told us. In public sector America, the penetration of consumerist plans like that is 2. It's 10 or 12 in private sector America, but it's 2 in public sector America. Government unions hate them. The whole idea that somebody might make his own decision doesn't sit well with them. Rich tells me that just today, New Jersey, they fought through at least the opportunity for state employees to choose such a plan. Well, anyway, we've been at it for a few years, and guess what? In that plan and in the one we created for low-income Hoosiers, where people do decide first dollar expenditures, they demonstrate that people at all stations of life can be smart consumers. They choose generic drugs at a much higher rate. They visit the emergency room much less often. They ask for second opinions. They shop around if an expensive procedure is recommended. And so the condescending or patronizing attitude that folks in the American state just couldn't possibly decide these things for themselves, we think is highly dubious. We think we have evidence to the contrary. And we believe that we won't have cost control in health care until all of us are cost controllers, and not just a few folks at the top sitting on some committee which will decide what care can and can't be provided to our fellow citizens. Side by side with the need to reform Medicare most especially, and the other safety net programs in a way that gives decision-making and back to individuals and places these excruciatingly hard decisions back on individuals more than today, comes the need to grow our private economy. We don't have a long boom in this country of the kind that is not in prospect right now. We don't have a chance of putting people back to work. We don't have a chance of paying the debts that we have piled up and that we have scheduled for ourselves. We don't have a chance, I think, sadly, of reaffirming the American dream, which is starting to fray around the edges a little bit. You know, in the worst of times, historically, we Americans have believed that tomorrow would be better than today, that our kids would live better than we did. Every other society I've read about has a golden age, but it's always behind them. It's back in the past somewhere. Americans have always identified the golden age in the future, and that's been an engine. It's been a driver of this magnificent land of opportunity. It's what's been attracting millions of people to our shores all these years. Right now, we should be breaking all ties, calling all close ones in this country in favor of choices that will grow the private economy. The basic equation is, what, C plus G plus I plus T. I mean, Government, which is a drag because it is spending more than it's taking in. Trade, which is a drag because we're buying more than we're selling. Consumption, which is not going to grow very much. People are not going to be able to keep spending at the rates they were. You can already see the change there. The ace in the American card, the high card in the American whole has always been innovation and technology. Those equation-changing discontinuities that reshuffle the deck and lift things up. And we see them around us. If there's a great example right now, it's this shale gas thing out of nowhere. Technology doubles the energy resources that we thought we had in natural gas. Same thing's happening in oil sands in Canada. Got to seize these opportunities as they come, but biotechnology and medical technology are a tremendous fountain of this if we let them be. So thank goodness for the work of this center and for all those, each of you, who is pressing for speed, who is pressing for openness to innovation. A nation that doesn't embrace that, a nation that, as I just found out visiting, I'm so out of touch these days. When I visit with the medical device people, as I did last week, learned that a vast majority of their products are now introduced in Europe first, because we can't get them on the market here. A nation like that is not serious, either about better health care or about the job opportunities for its fellow citizens. The road ahead will not be an easy one. We shouldn't mislead ourselves. We could start making all these calls the right way, and there's still plenty of obstacles. This is a nation which has got a lot of, as they say, deleveraging to do. We've stacked up a lot of debts, and it's not just your federal government. There's a lot of state governments like the one that Rich and his boss are trying to turn around now. There's a lot of private debt out there. We've been misallocating capital in this country. We've poured money into housing that should have gone into medical research and new manufacturing innovation and so forth. And we've got a labor force that's been undereducated for a long time and is no longer the envy of the world. But the answer has to be innovation. And this is where the work of the center has been so valuable and unique. There aren't too many other entities I know who have more eloquently and empirically and therefore convincingly made the case. And so I really appreciate what they do. I appreciate the chance, however unmerited, to be here and say these few words to you. And in whatever ways are available to us out in our corner of America, one of those I states, as you Easterners think of it, we will continue to advocate and try to act on the premise that Americans are born to freedom. They can make decisions for themselves. They can make the most complex of decisions in a wiser way than some benevolent better can in Washington or anywhere else. And that the Yankee ingenuity we've always talked about is still alive and well if we will let it be. Thank you for all you do and for this nice evening.